This is Ernie Vaughn with Vaughn-Da-Rosa Farms coming at you from 6 Miles, South Carolina. It's Monday evening, May the 4th, I think. We're going to be doing a video tonight on brooding chicks. But first of all, I just want to say I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's taking precautions with this coronavirus. Take it serious. Keep that social distancing. Lots been going on here. Lots been going on. And we fitting to put the pedal to the metal and get some of these videos I've been wanting to do out. I've got so many. It's going to be coming up, which I'll talk about that in another one. But anyway, brooding chicks. If somebody told somebody like me wanting to give them a lesson on brooding chicks, I'm not interested. I know how. I know how to do it the way I do it. It works. But this video is for that young person, that young couple, somebody that ain't never done this. There's a lot of people getting in the garden now. You know, this corona's waking people up, you know. Well, what if something happens? They talk about possible food shortages and this, and they talk about everything, you know. But what if some of that stuff did happen? And a lot of people is getting where they want to try to, you know, be self-sustainable to a little bit. And one of the best ways to do, and I've talked about that on our farm, what me and my wife's doing, small scale. That's a good thing. A lot of people's buying chicks. A lot of people's planting a garden, which is awesome. That is so awesome. But this video tonight's for that young person wanting to do that, or that young couple. Again, small business orientated. This is going to be a big facet of our farm, and I'll talk more about that later on. I've done talked some in other videos. But you know, growing your own food, growing a product, that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of doing a combination of the two with my chicks. I've said in another video, you know, I've got some good markets. You can get, you know, good money for chickens, most chickens these days, without gouging or ripping somebody off, just a fair price. But this video is for somebody tonight that wants to get some chicks and they ain't never brooded no chicks. There's tons of videos, tons of information. I do mine a little bit different. I look at things a whole lot different than most people, but it works. It works. I don't like to overcomplicate things, overthink things, but I've done this for years and years and years, and you know, there is some things you got to know and do right, or it could just be a catastrophe. But they're real simple. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Brooding chicks. I'm going to go into real quick detail on each phase and what I'm talking about. And later on in this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the different brooders that I've set up and used. And the biggest thing on a brooder, and number one, if you can read that, it says brooding chicks. Number one is your enclosure. You got to have something to put them in, okay? But again, this ain't rocket science. It depends on how many you get. The batch that's in my videos that we ordered first was 75. I have brood chicks, 6 or 8, 10 in a cardboard box with a 60-watt light heat bulb for heat. But it depends on how many and how long they're going to be in there. It don't have to be nothing elaborate, okay? It can be something simple, but you got to understand whatever you got them in, they're going to grow quick. First brooder you'll see tonight when my grandson come down, them little chicks was about 7 days old when I filmed that video, and then the last one I do on this video, I think they're 10 weeks old, 10 weeks old tomorrow, and you can see how fast they grow and how much space they take up. So depending on, you know, if you was getting, say, 15, 20, 25, you can start them out something small, but understand you're going to have to move them. And I do that. My ones, when I first got them, the 75 and the brooder that you'll see on the video, I kept them in the basement for about 10 days because that was March the 12th. It was still cold here, very cold nights, and in the daytime. And I like to get mine started for 10 days to 2 weeks before I put them out into a bigger brooder. And then I always try to have 2 heat lamps in case one, you know, if you didn't have one, it burned out, it got down to 30 degrees, you're going to go out there and it's not going to be good. So, these are just little tips and tricks that you can do. Number 2, you want it in an area where there's no grass. Some of the buildings, and I'll show you later on in this video that I've used, we do go around with poly. You'll see it in the last one. We do fix where there ain't no grass because, you know, it can be 60 degrees that day, get down to 30 degrees that night, and cold air blowing in all. A baby chick get chilled, it's going to die. If it gets chilled, it's, you know, pretty much write that one off. So you don't want no grass. And that's easy to do, whatever you brood them in or whatever. If they're inside, just, you know, there's no wind blowing inside, I hope. If they're outside, just make sure it's, you know, pretty much airtight with ventilation, of course. The third thing you want to do is you want to have some litter down in that thing. What I use in all mine, I use pine shavings, not cedar, pine shavings. They can't nobody out there, well, they can say what they want that it don't work. Well, it does work because I brewed several hundred using that. The next key thing you got to have is a feeder and a water. The feeder and the water, you know, you could have whatever size fits your particular brooder, and as they grow, you may have to increase, you will have to increase the size more than likely. The feeders, I put, you'll see in that video, mine is kind of hang up. And as the chicks grow, as well as the water, you're going to want to raise them up a little bit. Because what they'll do, they get in there and scratch that litter. That water's going to be so nasty and clogged up, they can't even get a drink. So just keep raising it. You can build a little thing out of 2x2s with a piece of wire on it, to put a 1 gallon water on or whatever. It just depends on how many chicks you got and how big of an area you're brooding them in. Same way with the feeder. You can see that in the video. As they grow, you just go on there and untie it and hang it up, raise it up. Number 5, feed. The kind of feed you want to get is a chick starter. Some of them call chick starter grower. But it comes in medicated and non-medicated. I use non-medicated. On my farm, I am not organic certified, and I probably won't be because I don't want to go through all the red tape and all the money to get that junk. But it's pretty much grown organically. I do not use antibiotics. You know, I don't use none of that stuff. I don't use the medicated feed. But, you know, that's up to you. You know, it might help something like if you got an outbreak of coccidiosis or stuff like that. But that's where, if you're getting into chickens and you ain't never raised chickens, do a little research on, you know, the diseases and prevention. But, you know, the higher percentage of the time, if you raise them in a big enough area, keep them clean, keep them fed, keep them watered, take them grass if they're in a confined area, not free ranging. Maybe you can buy them some crickets, some worms or something. All that stuff, they're going to be, you know, they'll be healthy a high majority of the time. And then the last thing I got right here is heat. They got to have heat. Okay, here's where some people, to me, overcomplicate the heat thing. And I'm not telling you, you know, do the way they do. I don't care. I'm telling you the way I do it, and I know that it works. When a baby chick's born, for the first week, it needs to be 95 degrees. okay, where they can run around and get under that heat lamp at 95 degrees. Every 7 days, every 1 week, you can drop that down 5 degrees, keep going, till they're either fully feathered or until the average temperature equals out to whatever week you're in. Okay, if you start them in February, obviously you're going to be keeping heat on them a whole lot longer than if you started them in June. A lot of people say, you should have done this video back in the late winter, early spring. That's when everybody broods chicks, and that's true. A lot of people do, but a lot of people like me, they'll brood them all year long. And probably the next week I'm gonna be getting in some more chicks for part of my plan on my farm, what my goals are and what I'm trying to do. So I might order 3 more batches this year. So this is just good stuff to know, because I'd hate somebody, especially that young person, young couple, to order them 50 chicks and they, from, not just ignorance, not never doing it before, they make a mistake and it could just be bad. The second part of what I'm fixing to do here in a minute, I'm going to go over some tips and tricks, I guess you can call it that, sounds cool, don't it? That I do and I use, and I know they work, and I'll tell you my ratio at 10 weeks of how many I've lost. And my ratio is pretty awesome. But back to heat, depending on the size of the enclosure, like I said, I've brooded baby chicks with it, and I'm talking not one of them fluorescent, one of them other kind, regular light bulbs that puts off heat, in a cardboard box, 60-watt light bulb. Most of my brooders I use today, well, like when I ordered those 75, I'm using like two 250 watts. Well, I done turned the heat off of them about a week ago, because let the chicks tell you, don't overcomplicate it. If you got your heat lamps and you go out there when it's cold, if all the chicks just huddled up under that lamp, they just look like they cold. If they all spread out, and some's under the heat lamp, some's over there eating, drinking, scratching around, then it's fine. The chicks will tell you what you need to do. When I got that many chicks, I want to run 2 heat lamps when they go outside, for the simple reason, if one went out. If I didn't have one went out, they gonna die probably. Good chance. If I got 2, I'll be alright. I get out there tomorrow in the daytime, I'll replace the other. So that gives you some stuff to think about, but it's real simple. Your enclosure, that's obvious. You got to put them in something, but understand, they're going to grow, and they're going to grow fast. After about 3 weeks, they'll start, really putting on some weight. Then you're going to be looking at having to, get a bigger enclosure. And the same principles will still apply. No drafts. Your biggest friend there is Polly, my friend. Well, because I show you in this video some of the pens I use. It's cheap, it's easy. Litter, that's important. Feeder water, they got to have it, they'll die. And then the feed, I told you about that. I use non-medicated, but you can get medicated too. And then the heat. Okay, one other quick thing I want to go back and add, I forget left out. Say you order some chicks from a hatchery. They're going to give you the option to get 1 or 2 different vaccines on them chicks, which it does cost, a few cents a piece. One of them is Merrick's disease. I usually get that on mine just because I look at it as a preventive measure. You can research that, or you can ask the hatchery and get them explained to you advantages or disadvantages for your particular area. Okay. The other thing I want to touch on is don't get a small, say a cardboard box, and you're going to brood 20 chicks. Do not put a friggin' 250 watt heat lamp in there because you go barbecue. Scale down the size to the size of the enclosure. Watch your chicks. Let them tell you if it's too cold or too hot or just right. Simple as that. So here's some quick things I'm going to go over real quick. What I do when I get my chicks in, I want my brooder set up. I want my brooder, I want food, I want water, I want my cardboard. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I want my heat. I want all that been running for, 4 or 5 hours anyway, where that enclosure's done build up the heat. To me, that's real important. The second thing is when I get my chicks, every chick, I'm going to catch it and I'm going to stick his beak underwater, and his little head will come back and teach him where the water is and how to drink. Those chicks ain't ate or drank. They was hatched. They was shipped from the hatchery. Their egg soap that they suck up with them when they hatch can keep them going for 3 days. So you need to show them that that water, and they'll start drinking real quick. So it's real important you dip every chick's beak in the water. And another thing I do is I have the feeder in there with feed. I cut off pieces of cardboard so big and just lay them down, depending on the size of the enclosure and how many chicks. But they'll be feeding the feeder, and then I'll just take and sprinkle feed all around on that cardboard, because that helps them to find that feed and start eating, and it don't take them long to learn what the feeder is. So I think that's real important. That's one thing I do. Let's see what else. The other thing I do about every other day when they first come home, there's different things. They's called quick start. Some people use sugar water just to make sure they get hydrated real good. I usually don't use none of that, but what I do use is apple cider vinegar, the mother kind, the raw, unfiltered. And why I do that is baby chicks gets what called pasty butt, and what that is when they poop, for some reason it gets all crusty and dries up. It can kill them. If you got 10 baby chicks you brood, it's easy to look at every one of them. If you got 50, 75, 100, it's about impossible. But with that apple cider vinegar, and you do your own research on that, but I think it's awesome. I use it myself, all my animals. It's just a great natural product. But out of that 75, I did not have not one with pasty butt. And I contribute that to the apple cider vinegar. If you do get baby chicks and they get pasty butt, don't freak out. All you got to do is catch it, get you a paper towel or something, and warm water is better, it's faster, and just wipe the butt. Get all that poop, salt them, and pull it off. And that's all you got to do. But my point is, I use apple cider vinegar. I didn't have none with pasty butt, absolutely zero. And if I've got a whole pile of chicks in there, 100, I'm not going to see every one of them every day. It's about impossible because they move around, just crazy. So I do recommend using apple cider vinegar, the unfiltered raw with the mother in it, and do a little research on that. It's wonderful. If you do got any other questions, and again, this is for people that's just getting started, or because a lot of people getting in this, and I'm so glad. Leave me a comment. If you learned anything, if it made you think, if you liked it a little bit, hit that subscribe button. Help me out. Like it. Tell somebody else about it. But if you got any questions, leave me a comment. The other thing I wanted to tell you on this video, we do have a Facebook page now, Vaughn-Da-Rosa Farms. We still, working on the website. With this corona stuff, the timing of everything has just been kind of messed up. We're just playing that by ear, but You know, like I said, like and subscribe me, help me out. This is Ernie Vaughn with Vaughn-Da-Rosa Farms. And again, don't forget, take time to smell the roses. See y'all. My grandson meets the baby chicks for the first time. What do you think, boo? What do you think? Are there 2, 3 of them in there?
A few like 50.
75. What are they doing?
One was standing on top of it, his ID like he was hitting carry.
Yeah, I unplugged their heat light so I could film it and you could go to see them.
Here's a unique one.
The little yellow ones is grandma's laying hens. Or will be one day.
One day.
Not 5 months. 5.5. You gonna name them all? Alright. Tell everybody out there bye. See ya. Okay, y'all. Here's another one I've used. Homemade, home-built brooder. Braid some bannies in that. But again, the thing is you can brood them in anything if you meet the requirements that was at the beginning of the video. But as we step up here a little closer, you can see it's still got a heat lamp in there. This is about 2 foot by 3 foot. It's good for starting a small bunch or a larger amount for a couple of weeks or so till you get ready to move them to a bigger brooder or whatever the purpose of that may be. Again, I went over that in the beginning of the video, but I'm just wanting to show y'all some of the ones that I've used. This is another one I built, oh God, 30 years ago, but I still use it occasionally. I used it last year. It's actually got 3 different sections. One's about rotted away, but I'll show you the inside of this one. Now, if you had a larger amount you want to brood, this right here would be ideal. Depending on the time of the year, up there I'd put poly all the way around it, around the outsides of the wood too, where you see the gaps where they don't have a draft. I would start 100 in here easy, but in just a few weeks they will outgrow it. I'll be showing you the last brooder. Well, I got one more right before that, but the last one that I do show you is the one that the chicks are in now, that they've completed their brood cycle. I'll be moving them one day this week, but we'll get there in a minute. Okay, this section is beside the one I just showed you. It's partitioned off. I would probably start 50 in here, or any lesser amount would be fine. Again, depending on the time of the year, I would put poly on all the open areas, the wire, the boards. Then I'd have my heat lamp and my water and my shavings and my food. All right, let's go look at one more. Okay, here's one more. This one's inside the old barn. That's spectacular. It is probably 3 foot by 4 foot. Wouldn't have as much to close in with plastic, whatever. And before I use the brooder again, I do come in here. We'll clean all the chicken litter out, disinfect it, put shavings down, the whole 9 yards. But I'm just trying to give you an idea on, you can breed some chicks anywhere. It really depends on the amount, time of year, what your options are. Okay, this is the last brooder that I'm going to show you right now. But this is the ones, the first First picture of a brooder where my grandson comes down and sees all the baby chicks. This is those chicks 10 weeks ago. That brooder they was in that video, they only lasted there about a week and a half, and we moved them outside. That was about probably the 3rd week of March. Still cold in the daytime, still getting pretty cold at night. And I'm going to step in here and show you what we did. My grandson, he actually set this brooder up with the exception. I ran the heat lamps. Me and my wife, we put the poly all the way around it. These guys here, they're 73. We did lose 2. We lost 1 because it got stuck behind the water. Then another one was just because of, I don't know why. But there's many ways to do this, but what I'm showing you is how we do it here at Vaughn-Da-Rosa Farms, and it works. Because of 75, you only lose 2, and 1 was just a freak accident. If you took him off, that'd be 1. That's pretty good. But we got the feeder, we got the waters, we had the draft plugged up with the poly. I took some of that off. I'll be moving these guys to about a, I think it's 10 by 40 pin tomorrow. And I'm wanting to get them on the way. I like to raise them, which I'm going to do that in another video, but it saves a lot of feed and help their chicken. But I just wanted to show you all that. And get one out on Brooding Chicks. I love it, man. I love it. I thought he was going to tell y'all bye, but he wasn't. Alright, y'all. This is Ernie Vaughn-Da-Rosa Farms. See ya.